Let's begin with the available transactions. The Receipts icon within Inventory Control is where items are received from vendors, typically if the Purchase Order module is not being used. If the Purchase Order module is in use, receipts need to be entered there so the vendor invoice will be generated automatically. As with other document entry screens in Accpac, New indicates that the system creates a new receipt, and that it will utilize the next sequential receipt number found within IC Options. Optionally enter a description, such as June receipts, and the system automatically displays the date Accpac was started. The date determines the fiscal year and period assigned when the transactions reach the general ledger. Optionally enter a vendor number. However, doing so will not generate an invoice in Accounts Payable. The Purchase Order module needs to exist to perform that action. Although the vendor number field is optional, even if the Accounts Payable module is integrated, entering a vendor number will default to any vendor item costs that have been established for items within inventory, as well as default to the vendor's currency, if multi-currency is in use. Then optionally indicate a purchase order number. If multi-currency is installed, and if it is activated for use with inventory, enter the currency code based on the receipt being entered. If a vendor number was entered above, the system will default to the vendor's currency. If the currency entered is not the functional currency, the system displays the associated exchange rate for the date entered. The rate can be overridden if necessary. The same is true with any additional costs that are being entered. Select the currency code and then enter the amount of the additional cost. The system prorates the additional cost to the items on the receipt based on the cost of the items. To have Accpac default to printing item labels, click this box. The printing of item labels is determined at the detail level, so this just determines the default setting for each detail line when the details are added. Then enter the items to be received in the lower section of the window. Either manually enter the item number, selected from the Finder, or use a manufacturer's item number if they were defined. The next field identifies the location where the item is to be received, and the quantity being received. Then the unit of measure associated with the quantity. The system displays the most recent cost associated with this item, either from the vendor selected or the cost from the item. The cost can be accepted, or if the cost is different, change it. The system then displays the extended amount. Prompts for the number of labels to be printed. Entering 24 indicates that a case contains 24 eaches, so probably 24 labels are required. Optionally enter a line item comment, and the manufacturer's item number field will be populated if you refer to this item using that code rather than the internal item number, and then enter any item-specific optional fields. Repeat the process for each item being received. If a FIFO or LIFO item is being received, the system will create a bucket associated with the receipt date. During the entry of the receipt, click the Save button at any time to save the transaction. Selecting the Save button will retain the receipt without being posted, possibly because it isn't complete yet, but you have to leave the entry screen temporarily to perform another task. The receipt can be recalled by entering or selecting the appropriate receipt number identified at the top of the screen. When the receipt is complete, click the Post button. If you elected to receive a prompt to delete the receipt, which is a setting within the IC Options icon, this message is displayed. Selecting Yes removes the receipt details from the system. It will not be possible to recall the receipt for inquiry purposes or to make an adjustment against it. Selecting No retains the receipt information for future inquiry or adjustments. If preferred, you can eliminate this dialog box from appearing by deselecting the Prompt to Delete During Posting option within IC Options.
Let's take a look at shipments.